economic warning shot. Rockford area activists join a national boycott against stores they believe put greed before people.
Don't Buy Stuff Friday calls for shoppers to stay home tomorrow. WIFR's Nathaniel Langley finds why some in the community see it as the start of a larger movement.
A graphic made its rounds across social media in recent days. The photo declares consumers have power if they band together against big business.
Where we spend our dollar, it matters.
For 24 hours, activists in Rockford say you have a chance to save money and your conscience.
We can create change. We are not powerless in this fight.
Don't Buy Stuff Friday targets stores like Target, Walmart, and Amazon, all rolling back DEI efforts.
Their power relies on us not paying attention, us just going about our normal day. But if you look at some of these companies, there's a lot of skeletons in their closet.
A graphic on the national boycott says small businesses are safe. May's Books still plans to close in solidarity.
But I said, if I'm not going to catch a fish, I'm not going to catch a really big fish. Let's make it count.
The bookstore owner calls it an easy decision.
DEI is not woke or wrong. It's including other people that may be forgotten about.
Others believe DEI rollbacks from the Trump administration won't affect the marginalized.
What the president and his administration is doing will actually improve things for disadvantaged people. And boycotts are like a froth that aren't as effective as getting involved in the political process.
That sentiment falls on concerned ears who say they see DEI work.
And until we achieve full diversity, equity, inclusion, we still got a long way to go.
Some activists I spoke with hope tomorrow awakens the community's political senses. Other national boycotts are planned in coming weeks, including a specific one against Amazon.
Thank you, Nathaniel. President Trump says his executive orders against DEI are to end programs that are egregious and discriminatory.